Grand Rising. 1:14 a.m. It is May 6th, 2023. This episode of the podcast is going to be called Bearli Authentic. I skipped the living out of April. I had 2 podcasts planned for April that I was going to do that I did not do. April's always a hard month for me. March and April are hard months, and like June, July are hard months, and then November, December are hard months. And they're hard. They're hard because I have emotional trauma. Lots of it, plenty of it, tons of it. Thanks. I appreciate you wholeheartedly. I appreciate you for taking the time to listen to me. Yeah. Barely authentic. I didn't script this one like I did the last one, which is, back to my normal pace of action. There's a lot of updates in my life that have occurred. I think these are like blogs. I want them to be like a podcast, and I know I can talk for a nice little bit, but I don't know how to title these. I wanted them to be self-help, and it was more or less so self-help so that you can get an account of what not to do in my experiences based off of the information that I share. Like, for instance, don't compost inside your house. Why do you ask? Because you don't want gnats. I can handle gnats, but I don't have any lizards. And the gnats are prolific. So I need to work on how to reduce gnats now. There are tons of ways that I could do it with pest bombs and so forth and so on. And it would be super simple. Pardon me, /easy for me to be able to preoccupy that space and get that done. So it's not oh no, what do I do? But the gnats have been my pollinators, and so maybe they're my pollinators. I don't know. I digress. Got to get the gnats out. They're making my house look weird. And then there's the spiritual practice of having small flies /flies in your house that says that you're going through transformation. As well as they cleanse negative energy. It's just what they do. They decompose, they break down, they take it to a new level. I know. I'm not on camera, my face. Again, working with the authentic portion of this. So many people that I've come in contact with recently as I continue to try to engage with community in a way that says I'm healthy. I'm quote unquote ready to be a part of more than just a singular unit. I feel like a rogue bull elephant, which is pretty harsh as a lifestyle, because they only come together with other pods of females when they're ready to mate, and then they go off to be alone again. And I won't let that happen. Thank you, Wallow. I appreciate you for the quote. My intentions is to have a unit, a family, an engagement. I haven't had it yet. And what I think I have had of it, and what I think I've had of it has required a great amount of alone. I see covens of people assigned female at birth coming together all over the place. They get together, they band together, they live together. It's just this loving, trusting thing. I think frat guys and gay guys, men, people who assign as birth men, can come together and live in the same housing. Not to say that frat guys and gay guys aren't the same or are the same. I'm just noticing a pattern that people who like to fuck without having a specific type of discrepancy between who they choose to fuck tend to be able to live and cohabitate the same space. nice guys. I haven't seen a lot of like. I apologize for all the yawning. Nice guy pods. I throw quotes around nice guys. I haven't seen like a bunch of nerdy guy pods. Um, I was talking to High King recently, and High King and I were discussing like, damn, if we had decided to live together at a younger age, we would have become fuckboys. And I think, I think, I think that was the healthier choice. I think the healthier choice was us not doing that, just because of how I appreciate how I've turned out thus far as a person and a human being. Uh, a vessel choosing to engage as a human being. Um, because I think in totality, what this all amounts to is like I love the way that I love. I love the way that I love earnestly. I love that when I love, there's no prerequisite to kind of get the love from me, and people have kind of like started learning that from me recently. Like I say, I appreciate you wholeheartedly, and I don't care who takes that. I don't care if you put that on a shirt. It's not something like I've coined as a term. You can't like, you know, I've said it first. No. I just that's what I do. I just appreciate being alive from the center of my person, my vessel, like the inside portion of me that is being downloaded into this avatar. That part of me is just like, wow, this is pretty cool, you know? Like, sure, the mechanics of the 410 pound 6'6" vessel tends to be a little janky sometimes. Trying to keep it healthy is also slightly difficult based upon my engagement. My engagement with what I ingest as far as food is concerned. But other than that, I tend to have a very lovely lifestyle, and just the way that I engage with the world is just for me, because not everybody has that. You know, it's one of the gifts that I'm grateful for is that I wake up happy. You know, I don't know many other people who don't need to like jumpstart themselves. Like I roll out of bed, or I wake up, or I come to and I reach for my cell phone, or I just sit in bed for a second and I wiggle my toes and my body's moving and it does a thing. And then that right there, that's enough for me to be pumped. And I mean, like, you haven't lived with me, so you don't know. If you ever do live with me, if you have at some point in time and then you ever do again, I wake up like stupid early. It like, you know, when people are like, oh, you got to wake up and like 5 o'clock and do training. I don't think I've ever been one of those people, like to wake up and then start like working out. That probably would agitate me a little bit. Like maybe if I was homeless living in my car again and the only place I could go to the bathroom was the gym, I could work out every morning because then I would be in a gym to use the bathroom comfortably, like shower and stuff. But like at my house, no. I don't wake up and turn my house to a gym. I want the gym to be the gym. I want nature to be nature. I want my house to be comfortable in the way that I think comfortable is, and I leave it like that. And I tend to want to kind of like express how the life that I'm living, the life that I think I'm living, the life that I'm sorry, my hand's covering the camera. The life that I think I get to live through the experiences of like, I don't know, you know, like I have a lot of privileges that come with this vessel. I don't get like, I have been kidnapped, so I can't say that anymore. I gotta stop saying that one. I was like, I don't get kidnapped. I have been. I have also been indentured servitude. There's things that have been a privilege to being the way that I am. One of them being that I love me. I love me passionately. and trying to have relationships and engagements with others who don't necessarily love themselves from the same placement. And I know it'll never be the same placement because we're all the same stuff. And that's a kind of arduous conversation to kind of navigate with people, because it's like, we're not the same. I'm trans, I'm colorful on a flag, I'm titties and vagina, I'm penis and don't have anyone care about my mental health, I'm androgynous, I'm non-binary. There's a litany of things that we like to argue, and I'm using a satire kind of sarcastic tone of like victimhood. I I I love being alive. I love being at this point. I was circumnavigating with, like, I have been meeting up with more community recently, and everyone in the community, at least a lot of the people in the community, there's so many key buzzwords. Like, where'd superfoods go? Like, just real quick, because like, a tangent, because nonlinear thought process, and I appreciate the way that I've always thought. Um, Neurotypical, neurodivergent, atypical. All of these words, they're just words, and they put more category, as I was doing with my satire kind of sarcastic voice earlier. I don't want to place myself into a box of this terminology defines me. I have experiences that were unpleasurable that have shaped the way that I navigate this game, and I got better at ducking. You've seen The Lion King, and if you haven't, there's a scene in there where the baboon hits the lion on top of the head, and he says, "Ow, this hurts." And then the baboon is like, "You can either, like, figure it out," which is learn from it, or you can, like, whine about it. And then he swings the stick again, and the lion ducks. And he's like, "Haha, you got that shit. You nailed it. You figured it out. You figured out how to, like, oh, I'm in front of the camera again. You figured out how to, like, get past the pain that you're experiencing with life." And so I think because of my experience, I've been able to, like, figure out how to, like, learn from that. But there's so many other people who have done that, and how they've learned how to navigate. And a lot, this is the part that pains me, because, like, I don't think anyone is better than anyone else. I think we all learn in different ways. I think we love in different ways. I think we deserve love in different ways. I believe it. I know it. I practice it with my whole being, to communicate effectively and efficiently with all of those I interact with. I'm trying to, like, lay comfortably so that I can have this talk, because I didn't feel like getting up at 1 in the morning to, like, set up the camera and the stand and to, like, put clothes on. I didn't want to put clothes on. I didn't want to, but I felt like the end of the full moon. It's not the end, because there's still like 2 days left of this energy, but the end of the full moon day, because the full moon eclipse happened 10:30 a.m. and went through the day. And so, as the moon is coming out of full moon, I thought it would be absolutely wondrous to kind of not do anything. And I talk wonderfully. I do a lot to communicate effectively and precisely with my word choices. I say a lot because I'm always processing and crossing. I would say crossing and processing information in my brain. I like to reiterate to people who like to enjoy my conversations, that sign language is my first language and English is my second language. And while you may think that I'm speaking in an articulate manner, I think this is very slow, because of all the words that are necessary, all of the total inflections that I have to put into the words that are necessary to kind of communicate in a way so that you can understand me. I like to do the videos. I actually like to talk better in person. Like, if I could ever get some kind of, like, speaking gig, I would like to speak to a small group of people who want to hear / talk about some stuff in a very, like, intimate session. I don't know if it's going to be like any kind of, like, meditative thing. I love talking about healthy healing and those kind of practices, but I don't think I can life coach. But I digress. I want to farm. I don't know what that means if I were to engage with humans, but my practice is putting seeds into the ground and letting them grow. Um, I digress. I'm tangenting. I'm a little sleepy, but that doesn't matter because I want to get this talk out because I was prompted and like it's this like I was supposed to have this conversation. I was geared to have this conversation. There was a prompting to make this thing. Um, the terminologies that tend to define the world right now put us in a haphazardous place with understanding and the practice to, um, like what how I started this off was like be authentic. Those labels tend to come with prerequisites as to what you are as far as meeting them rather than you embracing where you are. And I've seen a lot of stuff that like kind of validates this practice. I argue very clearly that to be neurotypical, it is defined. It is defined by the books that also give you the label of neurodivergent. That to be neurotypical, the tests were done on like I don't know 100 to 300 white men in like the 1930s to like the 1903 to like 1935. You had to be like 35. You had to be white. You had to be middle class. You had to suffer from some kind of like there's this very specific set course of thought process that would make you a neurodivergent. I mean, a neurotypical person. So everything outside of the description I just gave you from 1903 to like 1935 and the practice of like self-reliance and pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, everything outside of that is neurodivergent. Everything. Everything. Everybody not white, not like 35 to 45, not middle class, not born before 1903 and not an adult person by 1935, then you don't fit the category. You don't, So that's like everybody alive right now, because I don't think a lot of people from 1935 or 1903 are alive right now. And if they are, good big ups to you. You're the like last of the neurotypicals that exist. Everybody else is neurodivergent. And that's what I mean by being authentic is I just went through a really hard breakup with a partner who I thought would have my last name. They wouldn't have been the first of the necessities because I'm the first of the necessities, but they would have been the first of the necessities to come from this line of necessities because I'm the first necessity that I know of practicing with this name. And so that was a very arduous loss. And the reason that breakup happened is there was a level of inauthentic communication with whom they were in the moment. I practice from a place of peace. And so it's difficult to kind of navigate in this world right now when people are often seeking peace. They're seeking some sense of relief. I might cry a little bit because of how pained I am about the next few thoughts that I just had. People tend to like want to have a sense of peace, and and what I get from that is that they don't feel as though peace is there. There isn't peace present, and that's difficult in the world that we live in to kind of navigate the space of this is peaceful. I can't pull it up the definition of peace right now, and if I had scripted this, I would have it set on a piece of paper somewhere off to the side, and maybe I can come back and make a peaceful podcast and that be a thing. But as of right now, there's just a lot of practices that are happening in the world. And it's not like I want you to ignore things because that's what we do as a society. It's been ingrained in us that everything isn't as bad as it is. We've all become more and more numb to murder, more and more numb to crime, more and more numb to like abuse. Victimization is on a all-time rise rather than like practicing control of one's emotional output, being aware of one's own mental health, mental status. There's just a lot. There's a lot that tends to like be a part of the dynamic that we're in. And it's difficult to circumnavigate that and still have the same idea in practice that we are safe in all the ways that we think we are. It is often very saddening to be in this space because, like, what do you offer the world? How do you, as one singular water bear, as one single tardigrade on this petri dish, this microscopic slide of the universe? How do we all come together so that it's not this them versus us, me versus you, constant conscious conspiracy to, practice outside of ourselves the desire to kind of, oh man, if I could just do XYZ, then I would be happy. I'm happy now, even in the sadness you hear in my voice. I'm experiencing joy and sadness. I experience loss in real time. It's not. I'm not like, oh man, I'll process that later. And people do what they need to do. And again, my way isn't the best way. It's the best way for me. Scratching the very top of my head as I continue to recognize the thing I think is myself. It's daunting as a thought to kind of stay in a place that says that society is what's for me. But there are so many people who need the love that I produce naturally. And while I know it's not my responsibility to heal those people and it's not my responsibility to cater to those people's needs, the authentic response that I have is I am loving myself. This person is me. I am loving a portion of myself. It isn't I'm just doing something to facilitate a space for someone that I think is me. No. This is a realistic response that my body has to being near another alive thing. I used to be really terrified of spiders. So bad. Now I can pick them up. I don't necessarily want them on my hands or anything like that. And they tend to want to get down or off you as quick as possible. They don't tend to want to hang around. They're not like, oh man, you know what? This is fucking fabulous. I need to like be on this guy. They tend to want to get down back on the ground. The song popped up into my head. Get down on it. If you want to just really want to dance. They tend to want to get down off of you. So, and I was walking through the thought of like, we have a fear of love. We have a fear of being cherished. We have a fear of being embraced and cared for. Because when we do give that opportunity, hurt happens, and hurt is real. And through like several instances in trying to repair this relationship, this bond that I came out of recently, I looked into like what deep repair looks like for relationships. I looked for what reconciliation would look like. I have an understanding of that for myself, for what it looks like for me to like love myself through an infraction, but like to be able to do that for a person who is consistently making the same infraction, which is called manipulation. Because if that person's behavior does not change after several course corrections, it's manipulation. No one behavior will be maintained. And if they are maintaining it, then you as a person who has a desire to engage safely, again, understanding that the term neurospicy offers a litany of leeway for people who just cannot do a thing. don't want to do a thing. I don't really know how that navigates anymore, but like just from my understanding, aren't capable of doing the thing that they speak of. Um, and that's when your actions don't align with your words. We're currently scared to let ourselves be in that place for when someone can hurt us. And the whole world is there. It's not like, oh, just like my audience, the like 6 of you who listen to these podcasts, these strange, ramblings of a giant brown person who perceives us all as one entity and one being. I'm not like a doomsdayer where I'm just like, God is gonna embrace us all, and like the asteroid is coming and Nibiru is on the way. So prepare yourself, prepare yourself to return to oneness. Dormammu is on the way. Never doubt the worm. It's always been Wankershim. These are like the musings of a almost said wallflower, but I don't know how many of those things that I just strung together are going to connect with my audience, because I think a lot of you are older than me and haven't seen a lot of the same media, but I digress. If you have, I would love to know. And a basic Google will probably bring you to some of that stuff, and I don't know if you'll actually put intention to like researching any of it, but I digress. We are all kind of, circumnavigating this place that says we are farmers. Bum, 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 bum. We're looking to be insured and cared for. We're looking for insurance with our care. We are looking to be, authentically in a place that says that if we share our heart, then our heart will be, encapsulated and loved. And that's not realistic. Realistically, vulnerability is like, realistically, vulnerability is having beautiful wings like a butterfly, and then knowing that birds are attracted to you because you are brightly colored and taste delicious to them. Vulnerability is knowing that 12 million of you buzzing around one spot in a tree will invite the giant grizzly bear, and you may not make it through that season because the bear will come and eat like 2/3 of your honey and then fall asleep drunk in the tree and wake up and walk away. And I know my name is Bear, but it's an example. Vulnerability is a duck hatching 10 to 12 babies, because by the end of the season only 2 ducklings will exist. And so, vulnerability is knowing that there is chance for pain and then still having the desire to love. Love is, for me, is knowing that the hurt will come and then still having the space to kind of hold for it. Not expecting hurt, but understanding that hurt is a part of the process to being loving. Because I get rejected frequently. I get repelled frequently. There are other terms that I could put here as far as like, this person is not interested in what I am offering. Whether it be I defining as rejection, I define it as redirection, I define it as repelled. Whatever it may be, it still comes from the place of that person isn't wanting to be vulnerable with me. And I often express a level of invulnerability to people who want to pursue me. I practice a lot of spiritual communication with the space around me, whether I call it energy work, whether I call them deities, where I call them orishas, whatever my practice is, I tend to be what I think is in tune with that space. And I lean into the things that make me feel comfortable. I lean away from the things that don't make me feel comfortable in regard to what I feel like is the energetic space around me. And I leave space for others to do all of the same. And when I was younger, I had this expectation that people would love me, and I had to like garner their favor, and it would be a thing, and it was performance. And I'm talking like, I have been homeless 18 plus years. If you listen to any of my podcasts before now, then you know some bit of my story. But it is like, um, there's a performance that it comes to getting resources, um, and kind of like acknowledging that I have shaped my personality around being favorable to people so that I could have the things that I needed. Now I get to just choose, and I'm so grateful that I got to be alive this long, because I thought I was gonna die way earlier. You know, if it weren't the attempts on my life from like, I don't know, I started self harming at like 13, maybe even younger, maybe at like 7. I was doing like head banging stuff against walls and didn't understand that that was called self harm at that time. Um, Sorry, I gapped. But just like, the love that I have for myself now, just being able to acknowledge that I don't have to be pleasurable to everybody that's around me. I'm pleasurable for me. And if a person finds my blatant happiness uncomfortable, that is on them. I don't have to do that. I don't have to, like, if someone in the how do I phrase this? If someone from the flamboyant squad comes along and thinks that I'm forcing my own flamboyance and external excretions, external well, how would I exuding a level of how do I phrase this? Exuding a level of intentional energetic response to people around me, then that is their preference. That is their understanding. That if they think it's like forced, I've recently had someone that I'm communicating with now tell me that they didn't mind hanging around me at all, and it made them feel very comfortable. But also, I didn't have to always be on. And I had to ask them. I was like, "Oh, like what? Like, what does that mean?" And so they explained it to me. It's essentially like, having your personality be on for others. And I was like, "Oh, no, 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 no." Like, to myself, there's a communication style that I use for me, to me, in my head, that doesn't require my out loud. And then when I think about all the occasions that I've had to communicate with people prior to this, my sign language days, there's a level of communication that we just don't verbalize at all. For hearing humans, though, again, back to this podcast and like the visuals on the camera, because I'm currently, swinging the camera to and fro. The visual cues and the audio cues that hearing people don't adhere to communicate in a way that is beneficial to themselves as well as to people listening to them is so intense. I don't know if a lot of people know how they actually physically move when they're talking to people. And because sign language is my first language, it is a physical language. I am reading a person's body. And you get to see a lot of authentic expression in a person when they're moving, which is why I prefer most conversations be in person rather than over the phone, and like on FaceTime rather than over the phone. I'd rather everything not have to come from your tone, your inclination, because some people, when they get mad, they do this thing where they like get snippy and they don't know they're doing it. Like, all right, for instance, like if you're just like, I would prefer if you didn't speak to me in that way. And they're like, oh, so like, would you rather I speak to you like this? See, that's something I had to learn and practice. I know for a fact that when I'm being snippety and short and whatever other terminologies we want to use to describe that particular style of language, I'm doing it. I'm telling you I'm agitated. I say I'm agitated. I say things like I'm frustrated, and then I communicate frustration. In sign language, when you say you're frustrated, it is a physical response. Your body is showing frustrations. It is like through your sign that you can see that you're frustrated. There is a level of authentic communication in there that doesn't have to be interpreted as angry. And yeah, people have their trauma. So anger is still going to come up as one of the defining things that's happening right then. But you can like say, I'm upset. You can say like, I'm sad. You can say, I'm mad. You can define it by like your hand signs, your gestures. You can do that. In English, though, and in the communication verbally, though, there's so much. There's so much to like dance around. There's so much passive aggressiveness that comes with like trying to communicate in a way that says, I want you to understand me, but also I want you to hear how I feel. But also, I don't want you to take offense to this because I want to be able to explain it all out. But also, like, I'm not being vulnerable right now because I'm defending myself. And it took me a long time to stop defending myself. And I haven't stopped defending myself yet. I haven't stopped putting up the barrier for protection. I'm hurt a lot more now than I was when I was younger, but like still, I don't protect myself anywhere near as much. I don't do anywhere near as many of the behaviors as I did. You live and you learn being outside for 18 plus years. If I were to start like doing all of the behaviors that I did in my youth, I would definitely not have housing the way that I have housing right now. And so I prefer, housing at this particular point. Am I working towards a different level of housing? Absolutely. But do I prefer the housing that I have? Again, absolutely. I wish I would have had some kind of communication prior to this point in time that would have given me some kind of structural agreement that, there's outlets. There were outlets for communicating that you were frustrated without doing things that I did to communicate that I was frustrated. That would have been super helpful and beneficial to me. Like if I had found the forest and farming at like 14, I probably would have never been cutting myself. I more than likely would not have had this. I would be much deeper into the softness of patience and the practice of pure potentiality. Being present with the thing that's happening, being present with thanks, universe. I appreciate the cheers. Even though those people are drunk and cheering for a completely different reason, if you heard that through this speaker and the recording, then I'm taking it for me. It's mine. I'm taking it. It's mine. And I'm not there. So, I don't have any regrets about that. I'm not like, oh, remorseful, oh, sad, but like having the experience that I've had and acknowledging that the experience could have been different had there been a different blah 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 blah. One of the other alternative realities might have been my variation of the experience and not the one that's experiencing it in a different timeline or multiverse. Then I could see how that would have been beneficial. But I absolutely love me. I love where I am, and it took a lot and a long time to get here. Time's not real. It took a lot of practiced experience to get to where I am. I have mastery over me now. I've got more than 10,000 hours, more than 5,000 hours being me, like authentically, without like the expression of, if I don't do for this person, then I'm not doing correctly. And, yeah, I'm really grateful that I'm able to love the way that I'm able to love. I forget how cathartic and peaceful these podcasts make me feel. I forget how hearing my voice and enjoying my voice the way that I enjoy it, because it took me so long to find my voice. It took me so long to be able to process and acknowledge that my voice was needed so that I could find comfort. And the reason I didn't have comfort in my life is because the voices in my head weren't mine and they weren't speaking to me in a positive manner. And for me now to be able to produce that out loud for other people, I love me. And loving me was the most authentic thing I could have ever learned how to do. It's one of the best talents I have, And I appreciate wholeheartedly that you were able to spend some time with me today. This is gonna be episode 4, even though it's March. Even though it's May, this is episode 4 of Bearli Doing Stuff Now with Words. We are at 39 minutes, 29 seconds, and I want you guys to be safe. I know you will be safe. It's not a desire anymore. I'm absolutely aware that you will be safe. Always, always. Because as we understand it, all is well. even when we don't enjoy it. Love you.